Breaking news alert, the alleged rape suspect is now in police custody.
News 2 crime trackers are on the scene.
I saw the suspect and he took off. I called 911 immediately.
News 2 crime trackers.
And since we've been out here, police have said thank you, you've helped a lot.
Local coverage you can count on.
A breaking news alert, the Amber Alert for Elizabeth Thomas is over. Tad Cummins is in custody. Elizabeth Thomas is safe. They were found by law enforcement officials in Northern California. We have team coverage for you tonight. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bob Mueller.
And I'm Cherish Lombard. Thank you for joining us. In the past 30 minutes, we've learned both Thomas and Cummins were found in Northern California. The Murray County Sheriff and TBI agents got a tip and called authorities in the state.
Now, police in California found Cummins' SUV in a rural area. The SUV was under surveillance for several hours before authorities arrested Cummins and found Thomas with him. The FBI has announced Cummins will now face federal charges as well as state charges for transporting a minor across the country. He could face 10 years in prison for those charges alone if convicted. We have team coverage for you this afternoon. Eric Egan, Stephanie Langston, and Andy Cordan are live in Columbia. News 2's Chris Bungard is live at the TBI headquarters here in Nashville. We begin with Eric in Columbia.
Thank you, Bob and Cherish. I have to tell you guys, this community here in Columbia, Tennessee is overjoyed today. They've waited 38 long days to receive this news, and today it finally came through to them. You know, just walking around downtown, you still see green ribbons wrapped around light posts, wrapped around railings with Elizabeth's picture on them. This community, they never stopped praying. They never lost hope. And today, again, it all worked out. Now, as mentioned, we have live team coverage here from downtown Columbia with Andy Cordan and Stephanie Langston. We're going to begin with Andy Cordan, who went to the home of Elizabeth Thomas and talked with Elizabeth's sister a mere few moments after she first got word that Elizabeth was found. Andy, tell us what that was like.
Eric, it was quite a moment. It was right around noon when we first heard the news. We were in the Culleoka community. We happened to drive up to the house. She was there, and she had only heard the news for just a few minutes. Here's her raw reaction. How do you feel about that?
Really happy.
I mean, it looks like you were almost crying. You were so happy, huh?
Yeah, I was crying about it.
How'd you get the news?
I just woke up and I had a lot of phone calls and messages about it, and I was just like happy they found her, and I'm waiting for her to come home so I can see her.
What's the first thing you're gonna say or do? You're gonna give her a big hug?
I'm gonna give her a hug.
Aren't you? I mean, it's beyond words, isn't it?
Yeah.
It almost doesn't seem real. They couldn't be farther away, and now
It felt fake, and then everybody kept messaging me about it, and I'm like really happy about it.
What would you say to her right now?
That I love her.
You love her. Just huge news in this community, everybody talking about it. I'll tell you, that was quite a moment at the door, and you could just feel the elation. We'll have so much more shows coming up. In fact, Stephanie Langston had interviews with family members as well. That's coming right up, so stay tuned. But for now, let's send it back across the square to Eric.
All right, thank you so much for that, Andy. You know that you hear the words, the emotion from Elizabeth's sister. And we in the news business, we identify with that because we've been following this closely, polling, cheering for this investigation, just hoping dearly that Elizabeth would be found. Now, as Andy mentioned, Stephanie Langston is going to join us now. Stephanie, you also talk with family members. In fact, you talked with Elizabeth's father earlier today, and not to take the words out of his mouth, but I remember he said he's just elated, and we obviously agree with that. Stephanie, fill us in. What was that conversation like?
Absolutely. As Andy mentioned, we were the first to speak with the family just minutes after the news broke. I spoke with Kat Bozeman over the phone. That's Elizabeth's sister. And then her father just happened to be walking up the square here outside of the family attorney's office when I caught up with him. Both, of course, just filled with emotions.
I don't know where to start. Don't know where to start. But I'm just so overjoyed to have her home, that she's safe.
I mean, I have no words outside of I am so happy she's been found. Yeah, that's our only concern. Our only concern from beginning to end was that she was found and she would be happy and safe. And she was found, and they said she appears to be healthy and safe. And that's all we cared about, was her being found.
As wildfires rage in Tennessee,
Look at that smoke.
News 2 is on the ground and in the air, keeping you informed.
We are tracking these wildfires for you from the sky.
How close they're moving to Middle Tennessee and what it means for your safety. News 2, coverage you can count on.
Our team coverage on this fire alert continues right now on News 2 at 5. Just hoping for a miracle.
A devastating fire alert in the Smokies.
I had a house fire in 05, so it hurts.
A man hasn't seen his family in more than 24 hours.
So I told her to call 911, and that was the last time I talked to her.
And weddings postponed.
Every girl dreams about that wedding day.
News 2 at 5 starts right now.
Good evening. We're continuing to learn new information tonight on the wildfires in East Tennessee.
Our team coverage continues. News 2's Bob Mueller and Brett Ramonda are in Gatlinburg, and Adam Snyder is in Pigeon Forge.
So let's go straight to News 2's Bob Mueller. Bob, what are you seeing right now?
Sam, Eric, as the sun has set here in East Tennessee and the temperature has dropped, that colder air is holding the smoke down. It's beginning to burn your eyes. You can feel the soot falling. You can smell the smoke. There's still a lot of fire out there. Unfortunately, this has become a deadly fire. Governor Bill Haslam just took off in his Army helicopter flying back to Nashville. He's getting an aerial view of the hot spots, what is still burning tonight. As we said, though, unfortunately, this has become a deadly wildfire. 3 people have died. At least 14 people we know of have been injured. 3 of those have been taken to Vanderbilt's burn center being treated there. We also know when this fireball hit, when those winds kicked up to 80+ miles an hour, sending those flames down the valley, at least 14,000 people had to be evacuated, and evacuated quickly. Folks were driving out ahead of those flames with none of their possessions, leaving things behind them. Many businesses, many homes, many cabins, at least 250 different structures have been destroyed. A little bit of good news. Most of the great tourist attractions in this area, Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Ober-Gatlinburg, Dollywood, they've all been saved. There is damage in the area. Those places were evacuated. Folks are now getting back inside Pigeon Forge, still not yet back into Gatlinburg. Dollywood was saved. It's going to reopen on Friday, so a little bit of good news from this tragedy. We can tell you, though, there were some horror stories, some folks terrified. We spoke with a man who talked to his wife on Monday. She called him, said the home is nearly on fire. Flames are outside my door. What do I do? He said, call 911. This was Monday. He has not spoken with her since. He's frantic to find out what happened to his wife. We spoke with the man.
We had seen on the news that there was fires on the spur. So my son and I jumped in our van and drove. We lived on Wiley Oakley in Gatlinburg, so we jumped down the mountain to the Welcome Center onto the spur to see if it was close to our house. And we got stuck in traffic at that point. They wouldn't let us turn around, and she called me about 8:15 and said that there were flames across the street from our house, and she didn't know what to do. So I told her to call 911, and that was the last time I talked to her.
Hopefully they'll be reunited again. He's still searching for his wife. We can tell you folks who have been displaced, and there are a lot of them, are being helped by the Red Cross if they don't have somewhere to go. At least 700 people stayed in a shelter here last night. The shelter's prepared to house about 1,000 people tonight if need be. Food and water is there along with housing. The Red Cross is here. And we also showed you earlier how firefighters from across the state have rolled east to help battle this fire, to do what they can do. Firefighters from out Middle Tennessee, Mount Juliet, Brentwood, Nashville, name the city, and they are here. The mayor and both the mayor and the fire chief of Gatlinburg said that the worst is over with. We have survived this. It is a tragedy. We will rebuild. We will get back to where we were. This, again, a highly tourist area for Tennessee, one of the biggest tourist times of the year now, the holidays. We don't know when Gatlinburg is going to be able to reopen. A lot of folks here are being displaced. As soon as we find out more information about that, we will let you know. In East Tennessee, I'm Bob Mueller. Let's send it back to Eric and Sam.
All right, thank you, Bob.
You know, these aren't just homes and businesses being damaged, but people's lives turned upside down. And that gentleman just doesn't know where his family is. It's heartbreaking.
It is.
Moving forward, speaking of the damage, while Gatlinburg is seeing some of the worst of it, nearby Pigeon Forge is also impacted by these fires.
Tonight, several tourist attractions, including Dollywood, are closed.
News 2's Adam Snyder joins us live from there. And Adam, tell us what you're seeing in that part of the area.
Well, Eric, right now I can tell you that the street life is certainly picking up here in the area, and there are first responders going to and from a road. This is Highway 315 that remains closed to the general public. But let me show you some video from earlier today. We could clearly see right here in this area that crews were still clearly fighting fires all around. Pigeon Forge. Now, meanwhile, dozens of families were here scrambling, as you mentioned, to find a place to stay, many settling at the Pigeon Forge Community Center. That was an effort headed by the Red Cross, who was ready to help whomever came their way.
We've got food for them, and we've got, cots and blankets and a place. This is an excellent facility. They've got showers, and so we've got towels, washcloths, and everything that they need.
Now, the center here in town actually last night housed about 80 people, but as Bob mentioned, there are centers all around this area that housed hundreds of people. But thankfully, I'm told that that number could possibly drop tonight as folks try to settle in with friends and family. Reporting live, Adam Snyder, News 2. Back to the desk.
Thank you, Adam.
To Justin in just a bit, but we want to continue to show you some new video of the situation here in the Smokies. Look at this. This is video of people driving near Chalet Village?
Chalet Village. And if you watch this video, and this is the one I referred to right when we started at 4 o'clock this morning, fire burning on both sides of the road, ash coming across, visibility is severely reduced because of the smoke and the decline, and you're moving through the mountains here, the terrain is just nearly impossible. This video, when you listen to the sound as well, will get your heart racing. It is just frightening as people were literally driving for their lives when the situation turned to just a few wildfires around our area to all of a sudden it seemed like the entire city of Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge or surrounding hills were on fire.
And I mentioned the 70-mile-per-hour wind gust they dealt with. That's why. So a lot of people were told to evacuate, and then 10 minutes later, this video is what you see there. Julie Edwards has been looking at some of the damage reports for us specifically and what has been impacted.
And Julie, we note that we have a level 3 state of emergency, right?
State officials are monitoring the situation and sending resources to Sevier County where they are so badly needed. We know 1,200 people right now are in shelters, more than 12,000 without power in the area. And some of our most dramatic video came from a guest at the Park Vista Hotel. You can see just outside the windows, the flames reportedly came up to the parking lot. We know that for some time yesterday, guests were trapped in the hotel because the road leading to it had downed trees that were on fire. Now the latest we're hearing is that the hotel has burned. To our knowledge, the guests all got out okay. And I want to go to a list of the structures impacted. This information comes from the Knoxville News Sentinel. So the Park Vista Hotel, as we mentioned, we've actually had some callers, some of you calling in and messaging us on social media asking about the Aeromont School of Arts and Crafts. That's one of the oldest craft centers in Tennessee. That has now burned. The Driftwood Apartments has burned. It was fully engulfed at one point. Hillbilly Golf also affected by this. Next up, also the Chalet Village North, the Creek Place Properties, Napa Auto Parts, and the Southland Car and Jeep Rentals.
Now, News 2 at 10.
Extremely dangerous people, well armed, and traveling high speed through our community was a grave concern. And we acted accordingly, and they were soon captured by us and other agencies.
Now at 10, a takedown in Rutherford County. The 2 escaped inmates out of Georgia accused of killing 2 prison guards, now in handcuffs. Ricky DeBose and Donnie Rowe are in jail after being arrested just a few hours ago near I-24 in Rutherford County. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Egan, and we begin tonight with a breaking news alert. We've been following this manhunt closely, and the search is now over after a dramatic capture in Rutherford County. Ricky DeBose and Donnie Rowe had been on the run for 3 days. The 2 are wanted murder suspects for killing 2 corrections officers on a work detail bus in Putnam County, Georgia.
Somehow those fugitives wound up here in Bedford County. I'm told they arrived in a stolen car. They ditched that car out here on the side of the road, and then they made their way up this driveway. At the top of that drive is a couple's home. I'm told they forced their way in at gunpoint. Now, just a little while ago, I talked with Sheriff Austin Swing, who walked me through the details of this harrowing story.
They were in their home from about 2:30 p.m. till about 5:30 p.m. They wrestled with the man and got control of him and threatened both of them's lives. They, according to the man and the lady, put guns to both of them's head and threatened to kill them if they resisted. They're extremely traumatized. I know both of them, great people, but they're extremely traumatized.
After all that, those suspects stole a car here and left. The couple that lives here called 911, and not long after is when those suspects were caught in the neighboring Rutherford County. Tonight, I'm told investigators with the Bedford County Sheriff's Office and Shelbyville Police Department are here alongside agents from the TBI and FBI, all assisting in this investigation. In Bedford County, Nick Calloway, News 2.
Obviously praying hard for him.
An outpouring of support as investigators work to figure out what caused a deadly school bus crash.
Breaking news right now on News 2 at 10, a horrific school bus accident claiming the lives of young children.
We are bringing you live team coverage from the scene in Chattanooga. News 2 anchor Eric Egan and reporter Jessica Jaglois with the latest information. We have extensive coverage tonight from that deadly school bus crash, and we have confirmed at least 6 young lives lost.
Truly tragic. We've been staying on top of this breaking news story all evening long. We're told the bus from Woodmore Elementary School was taking students home when it crashed on Talley Road around 3:30 this afternoon. It is still a very active scene. This is Eric Egan joins us live tonight from Chattanooga. Eric, do we know what went wrong?
Guys, unfortunately, it may be a matter of days before we really get answers as to what happened out here. But what I can speak on is the mood tonight in Chattanooga. It's quiet, it's somber, and there's a feeling of dread. Dread from people here that they might find out that someone died today, a child that they know, again, when they learn the identities of the kids that were on that school bus. But like you at home, we want to know exactly how this happened and what went wrong. Police just took us to the scene over there. It's about 200 or 300 yards behind me tonight, and the bus is still on its side. Debris is scattered all over the place. In a word, guys, it's terrible. It's hard to see even several hours now after this happened. And again, we're told this accident happened around 3:30 this afternoon. From the pictures we've been showing you much of the day, the bus appears to have rolled on its side. The body of the bus, it looks like it was cut in half by a tree. There were 35 people on it. 23 of them have been hospitalized. And at this point, we know 6 children have died. The Hamilton County DA's office is telling us that tonight. Now, the number could increase, but tonight Chattanooga PD is saying it will not update that number until they speak with each family affected, speak with them individually. Now, I can tell you police here are also strongly looking at speed as a possible factor in this crash. And we also have been told that the bus driver is cooperating fully with investigators. Now, earlier today, the police chief from Chattanooga was here at the scene. He was talking about the effects that this accident has had on the community, the strain being felt by people in all walks of life. Here's a little bit about what he had to say.
What has happened today is every public safety official's absolute worst nightmare, but that is nothing in comparison to the nightmare that families and friends and our community is going through with this tragic loss to children in our community.
And guys, investigators will also be here much of the night and likely into the morning. We've also been told that the NTSB is sending a team that will likely be here maybe 7 a.m., 7:30 in the morning. Just again, try to get an idea, try to piece together everything and explain what exactly went wrong. Now, there's another part to this story. It's the family and friends that are gathering together tonight, some of them mourning, some of them grieving. They're at the Children's Hospital in Chattanooga. That's our Jessica Jaglois, my colleague, picks up the story from there. Jessica.
Well, it's still very much touch and go here at the Children's Hospital. We're seeing families, volunteers. Let me step out of the way so you can see that the lobby is filled with families and volunteers at this hour. I spoke to several of those volunteers. They say there's little that they can do, but they've been providing food to these families who are waiting to hear if their child is one of those who made it. And they're also praying with them to make sure that they did.
This is our community, and this is where we live. And when there's a need, you go to the need.
Powell Grisham belongs to Rock Point Church in Chattanooga. He and several other members came to the Children's Hospital Monday night to offer support in any way they could.
We didn't know what we could do, but we felt like if we showed up, we could figure it out. And because there's a lot of hurting people, and we just wanted to do what we could to help.
Volunteers brought pizza and water since many family members haven't had a chance to eat since news of the crash broke this afternoon.
I know there are several still in surgery as we're speaking now. Many of the families are just waiting and seeing what the outcome is.
We spoke with City Council member Chip Henderson. He says he spoke with the family of a boy who has about a 50% chance to live.
They're obviously praying hard for him. He had several broken bones in his face and in his skull. They seem to be holding up fairly well. I think they're optimistic right now, just praying and hoping that he's going to be okay.
Now, I'm told volunteers and city officials will be here all night. Obviously, it will be a sleepless night again, still very much touch and go while these family members are waiting to hear about their child's condition. Reporting live in Chattanooga, I'm Jessica Jaglois, News 2 at 10.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Now, I'm being told that school will go ahead and be in session tomorrow as planned at Woodmore. I'm going to send things back to you guys back in the studio, Sam and Bob in Nashville. But before I do, we're going to be back here in about 15 minutes or so, maybe less, and talk about the priorities and how this case will be investigated from here on out. That's coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I just checked the school schedule, and the kids only had one more day of school this week before Thanksgiving break.
Welcome to News 2's coverage of Pat Summitt, Celebration of Life.
Thank you so much for joining us as we remember Tennessee native and legendary Lady Vols coach Pat Summitt. I'm Samantha Fisher.
And I'm Eric Egan. Thousands are expected in Knoxville at the Thompson Bowling Arena at the University of Tennessee's campus tonight.
And that's where News 2's Ann Holt and Bob Mueller are tonight anchoring our coverage. Good evening.
Hey guys, good evening to you. You know, it really is a day of reflection here, Ann, and a day of pride for the University of Tennessee as family and friends and former players. They all gather here in Knoxville to pay really a celebration of life to Pat Summitt, to pay their respects. You know, this is your school. It's a proud moment for you. It's a sad day, but there's also a lot of smiles as people remember all the great things that Pat Summitt did.
Drawing on each other's strength. That's what they've come to do, and this is certainly a celebration of life as you look at the inside now of Thompson Bowling Arena, the seating capacity of about 2,100. Let's listen in.
Family and friends that knew her best. Pat Summitt was a pillar of the basketball community and a driving force in women's athletics, and her influence has brought people far and wide to Knoxville, Tennessee, and they've congregated here on the floor that carries her namesake.
All right, welcome back. Back to the breaking news alert that we have. This is one of our first alert units on scene, and we're looking away from the scene of the accident right now. We had 3 Chester County buses rolling through Nashville. One of them, that one, rolled over onto its side. The other 2 are pretty much on the right and left of where you're standing with the camera right here. But you see pieces, it looks like, of a blown-out tire there in the middle of the road. 11 injuries, 1 critical. Chester County, by the way, is just south of Jackson. At the accident scene right now is Armando Morales. Armando, I hear you. What are you hearing now that you're there?
Yeah, no, I just got on scene. I'm not hearing much right now, but as you can see, that bus is overturned, and like you said, there are 3 total buses, 2 of them to the left and right of me. To the left of me, if Sky wants to pan over to the bus on the left, there's still kids on that bus.
Yep.
They're just kind of, surveying the scene.
Well, I don't know. I just woke up. Water was all in the trailers, all I know. And I was awake. My dog woke me at 5, wouldn't let me sleep. I got up, and I didn't even think about a flood. There's nothing on the news about being a flood, well, it was up to about right here. About right here. Our head was above water. What y'all do to get out? I opened the door. We stood on those rails.
Man, just terrifying. That man has several dogs. He put the smaller ones on the roof. The bigger ones, like him, swam to safety. Good evening, everybody. I'm Eric Egan.
I'm Samantha Fisher. The flash flooding caught everybody off guard this morning. And we have team coverage for you tonight, but there's more rain coming in and the possibility of more flooding. So we want to go straight to Danielle Breezy, who's tracking this weather alert.
Yes, that's right. Right now, we still have a flood advisory up for that same area that we were showing you in Sumner County. This is until 5:15, so still waiting for those waters to recede. The reason we have this up is because we saw so much rain in a very short period of time. This is under 2 hours. We picked up Over 6 inches of rain in spots, 4 inches in other, and 3 inches in other spots as well. Now, right now, as you look at storm tracker radar, we do have a few showers out there towards West Tennessee and a few more up north over the border in Kentucky. But we are tracking one cell in particular, one lone cell, just east of Crossville right now, moving towards Lansing. So that is one thunderstorm. Things have quieted down. We did have a lot of thunderstorms earlier this afternoon, and some of them were strong. Do still have a severe storm over the border in Mississippi, and some of that action is headed towards our area. So overnight tonight into first thing tomorrow morning, there could be a few storms north and west. Then we're watching this cold front you see right here. This is going to be the culprit to trigger organized potential severe weather tomorrow afternoon, evening, and into the overnight hours. And some of those storms, again, could be on the stronger side. Right now in Nashville, because we haven't seen any rain here, it's been warm, 90 degrees right now. The warmest it's been all week. Actually touched 91 last hour, so close to record highs. But in areas that saw rain, we have cooled down. It's 78 in Clarksville, 79 in Camden, and 75 in Paris. So we'll talk about the hour-by-hour timeline on the storm chances tomorrow and talk about the threats ahead.
Okay, thanks, Danielle. Now we want to go to Larry Flowers. He's live in Gallatin off Long Hollow Pike. Larry, you talked to people who are comparing this to the 2010 flood.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, back in 2010, the water was so high, the creek rose, that it covered the top of that bridge, causing quite a bit of damage and destruction.
I mean, I wasn't expecting this at all.
Kevin Turner had just gotten off a red-eye flight and heard about the flooding in Sumner County where he grew up and had to see for himself.
I mean, it happens in this area, especially with our seasons changing the way they are. You know, we're getting rainfall heavier in spring, but then we're not getting any in the summer.
This area of Sumner County near Long Hollow Pike and Lower Station Camp Creek Road flooded in 2010. Turner remembers all too well.
In 2010, the water was, you know, up to the bridge, and it lasted like that for a couple days. But I imagine it's probably gone down a bit since this morning.
He's just glad to see no homes underwater.
Definitely. I'm glad that no homes have been flooded. I think it makes us want to be more smart about our development in the area, you know, be more sustainable. Stuff like this is going to happen, so we got to think about that.
Again, what can we confirm as far as what we've seen with our own eyes and things you've seen that we have on camera here?
We've seen the female in a camo jacket. Officers had her in handcuffs. They put her in the back of that dark SUV there. We've had officers tell us as we arrived that they did have both suspects in custody, but we did see a female, blonde hair, or appeared to be blonde hair, with a camo jacket on in handcuffs being talked to by officers and then put in the back of that SUV. We have not seen the male suspect that they have told us that is in custody, but they have confirmed to me that both of them are in custody. We have just not seen the male yet.
28-year-old Daniel Clark was surrounded by officers and taken inside the building around 11 o'clock this morning. He was dressed in jeans and a Firebird t-shirt. He tried looking away from the camera. Shortly after, 15-year-old Trinity Quinn was taken inside the precinct. She was dressed in a gray hooded sweatshirt and jeans. The investigators questioned them for hours, and they tell us both gave statements about the attempted robbery and the murder of the store clerk.
One year ago, the Blue Angels graced the skies of Nashville. The Navy's elite flight team building anticipation as they prepared for the Great Tennessee Air Show.
They only do so many shows a year, and we're pretty lucky to get them.
But in a split second, everything changed.
Hello, 911. We had a plane crash. One of the Blue Angels crashed. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We have it. We're getting help on the way. Thank you. Plane crash right by Fairway Meadows. Yes, I'm over here at Walmart in Smyrna, and one of the jets just came over, and we had one down towards the ground. Yes, we have help on the way to him. Thank you.
At age 32, Marine Captain Jeff Coos, husband and father of two, was gone.
And it was a magnificent flight, and then it turned into a horrible day.
In the next half hour, the untold stories of how lives intersected that day.
Literally, the impact affects you, and just, I heard it, I saw it.
From those who worked.
Everyone knew the job we had to do, and we did it.
To those who witnessed,
your stomach drops, your heart sinks.
And those who prayed in the middle of a tragedy.
I just think on that day I was supposed to be there and I was supposed to respond.
The moment that brought the city of Smyrna together.
You know, and over the town of Smyrna, over the airport, over that entire community.
And a year later, the launch of a memorial to the lasting memory of Captain Coos. Crime across Middle Tennessee, evolving in new, dangerous ways. Tonight, News 2 investigates the growing war on heroin.
These are moms or dads that are choosing this poison over their own children.
Plus, predators using brand new techniques to lure local girls into prostitution.
On the surface, this can look innocent. There's no way a young girl is going to choose to have sex with 15 to 20 men a night.
And weeks after a major human trafficking sting, a survivor's story.
He sold me to this man that tied me to a tree for 3 days out on the lake, at Percy Priest Lake.
From WKRN News 2, this is Crime Tracker, Special Assignment.
It's a Monday night. It's cold.
The pills are so expensive to get.
It's dark.
Break into houses, they steal guns.
And Cheatham County drug officers are on another stakeout. Blue lights.
First approach vehicle, I could smell burnt marijuana and raw marijuana.
Half-truths.
When I asked him if him or anyone else had smoked marijuana in the vehicle tonight, he stated he did not, but his buddy did.
Indicators of drug use.
This is a cigarette cellophane with a little bit of marijuana bud in it.
They found some pot.
Yeah, I know they were gonna find it.
This is what it looks like on the front line of the war on opioids.
He's going to be charged with Schedule 6 marijuana.
Where every night is a roll of the investigative dice.
904 and 913 en route.
Where every traffic stop.
Hey, we're set up. You're in position.
Every suspicious encounter in a dark parking lot.
We put pills, heroin, marijuana.
Every search of the center console of a vehicle that has no registration.
You may see this kid 5-10 years from now.
Could lead to the next major drug transaction.
And he's strung out on heroin.
Cheatham County drug agents have been successful in the battle.
You got a good view?
They show me evidence from recent opioid operations where they were able to take pills, heroin, and the tools of the trade.
President Trump's historic visit to Nashville.
Everybody's watching. Everybody's tuned in.
News 2 gave you an all-access pass to everything presidential.
I'm just glad to be a part of history.
Thank you.
When big news happens, count on News 2 for local coverage you can count on.
Chris, I want to send it back to you one more time. We're seeing the folks up in the upper tiers now beginning to fill in those empty seats. But I'm telling you, it still could take quite a while. There's still an awful lot of empty seats for all the people that are outside.
Well, there's something very interesting that's going on right now. We were talking about these Metro police officers. They're basically fanning out right now. Again, if we can go down the street to the right here, and what they are doing is they are standing every 20 feet or so. And I'm thinking that part of that is when the word gets out that a whole lot of these people that they are looking at and you are looking at right now are not getting in.
Flames bursting through walls. Shots ringing out. Sights and sounds no family wants to experience. That's why News 2 is helping you keep your family safe. And it starts with prevention.
It's better to be safe than sorry, and it doesn't take that long to just come up with something and talk about it real quick.
From fire safety.
If your child can operate one of these cell phones, they can operate these.
To gun safety.
They felt about 140 miles an hour. The force of hitting a brick wall at 140 miles an hour. I miss my daughter every single day.
To car seat safety and beyond, we have coverage you can count on in our News 2 Family Safety Special. It starts right now.
Hi everyone, welcome in. I'm Dawn Davenport.
And I'm Neil Orn. We appreciate you watching our Family Safety Special. Accidents in and around the home are a significant cause of injury and even some cases death.
Many of those accidents though are preventable. We're going to take you inside and show you how you can make your home a safer place.
Let's go. And welcome. We're going to start in the kitchen, one of the most accident-prone places in your entire house, not only because of the knives and the sharp objects that we use to prepare our food, but because of the stove and hot objects and the way we tend to leave things unattended.
Yeah, did you know most house fires start right here in the kitchen? Now, hopefully you have one of these on hand so that you can put a fire out quickly. But if that fire starts to spread, you have to know how to get your family out safely.
You have 3 minutes to get out of the house, according to the state fire marshal, once a fire starts. Josh Breslow takes a look at what to do if you have a fire at your home.
Meet the Meredith boys.
I've been playing that game for a long time.
Rambunctious 6-year-old Asher, adventurous 8-year-old Cooper, and book-smart 12-year-old Zach. The boys live on the bottom floor of their Donaldson home. Their parents, well, they stay upstairs.
You just never know what could possibly happen.
It's 9 a.m. on a normal workday in Nashville.
1076 Union.
We're out riding with Metro narcotics officers, checking parking lots, looking for suspicious activity.
We set up surveillance and try to watch deals being made.
We go to Hermitage,
No warrants.
where drug officers say these women are acting suspiciously in a vehicle parked on the side of a gas station.
People inside of a vehicle snorting illegal substances.
A check of the SUV reveals more than a dozen syringes.
What were you guys doing here today?
I can't really lie. You know what we're doing out here.
The needles belong to this 22-year-old Rutherford County woman.
What I use every day. I don't like to reuse needles, so that's why I have a lot of them. Yeah, they're used for heroin.
What?
And cocaine.
The young lady, who doesn't want to be identified, seems intelligent and sincere.
Were you guys thinking about using pretty soon?
Yeah.
The self-described addict is fidgety and nervous.
You're literally grabbing the devil by the horns.
Grabbing the devil by the horns.
Literally.
She tells me that she's so addicted to heroin, it consumes her thoughts.
Aren't you scared, though? I mean, it's got to be a little bit frightening.
Yeah, it is.
The young woman has lost her family.
They don't barely talk to me anymore.
And how long have you been using heroin?
5 years.
So since you're 17 years old, you've been doing heroin?
Yeah. It's hard.
She's lost her dignity.
What are you feeling right now?
I'm sad.
You're sad?
And I'm disappointed in myself.
She's all but lost her young life.
Some people say they're hooked right away. Did you get hooked right away?
Yes. First hit I took.
As we talk, I notice the 22-year-old's skin is covered with bruises, scabs, new track marks, where she says she injects heroin.
This is what they call track marks, and everything else right here is just from picking, I guess, from doing meth and stuff. You're so high that you don't realize that's what you're doing to yourself, you know?
When you look at that, you can't think that's attractive, can you?
No, my skin's so messed up now that you keep thinking, like, I'm not worth anything anymore or whatever, so might as well just keep getting high.
Brett, the sun has come up. There's some light on the area now. What is the latest in the search?
Well, the search continues this morning as that sun comes up. Police continue to pour in, police, firefighters, ambulances, things like that. I'm going to step out of the way and show you. There's probably 20, 25 officers here, detectives out this way. Very intense situation, as you can imagine. We have seen 2 ambulances leave. There are also 2 other ambulances still on the scene. Now, what we know is that a woman drove into the Cumberland. An unknown amount of officers jumped in. 2 of those officers have been accounted for. And a source tells me that one officer is still missing. Another, and that same source also tells me that the woman was found on the riverbank and has been transported. Now, again, officers continuing to scour this area. We have seen at least 2 boats, maybe 3 boats. We also know the Coast Guard is here, as well as the Tennessee Wildlife. Again, crime scene units are out here working around. This is the Peeler Park area, if you're familiar with it. So the river runs off in the distance right there, and that's where they're searching. So we're going to continue to follow. We know that both of the public spokespersons for the police department and fire department are on scene here, and we're waiting for a press conference. And once we know more, we'll bring that to you.
Metro Nashville Police are mourning the death of Officer Eric Mumau. Mumau lost his life when he went into the freezing Cumberland River attempting to save a woman trying to take her life. It is a loss felt at all levels of the police department, all the way to the top. Here's Nashville's Police Chief Steve Anderson.
But I know he died doing what he loves. He loved this midnight shift, and he gave his life. So Eric was one of those guys that I always like to see coming, because We always traded insults with each other in a friendly way. And that's the way he was with everybody. So I know his whole detail is over there. They're grieving. They're going to miss him. But we'll get through this with Nashville support.
His detail, emergency workers and others marking the loss of a fallen brother, escorting Mumau's body from the scene shortly after it was located by the Nashville Fire Department. These have been difficult hours for these crews. Almost from the very beginning, they knew the urgency. Brett Martin was on the scene early on and joins us once again to explain everything that led up to this event, tragic event for the police department.
Yeah, Neil, a very tragic event, a lot of moving pieces. As you can see, the investigation continues. They have now taped off the park here, because that's where the woman that the officers were saving now faces charges, criminal charges, could face criminal charges. Now, police were called to Peeler Park around 4:10 this morning and found Julie Gleason inside her car at the edge of the boat ramp. I want to show you what that looks like on a satellite map. Gleason was said to be at the very edge, threatening to drive into the river when two officers tried to save her. Now, at some point, the vehicle went out of park and drifted about 40 to 50 yards towards the middle of the river. Now, we're told Officer Eric Mumau and Officer Nick Diamond both went under as that car drifted off into the river. Now, police say another officer, Trent Craig, dove into the water, but because of the temperature, was not able to get to Mumau. I'm told Officer Diamond did try reaching for him, but because of that current, he could not save him, sadly. Now, at some point, Gleason made it out of the car and was found on the riverbank by a Nashville Fire boat. Now, she was taken to Skyline in stable condition and is now in police custody, with other Officer Mumau was found about 70 yards from where he was last seen.
As bagpipes mournfully sing Amazing Grace, Officer Eric Mumau's mother stands solemn and silent outside the church after her son's service. Mayor Megan Barry offered words of support inside the church. News cameras weren't allowed, but Metro Police snapped these pictures. The mayor told News 2 this service was a continuation of the one held in Nashville on Monday.
We continue to celebrate and grieve for Eric and his family, and to be here today and to see the outpouring of support in this community for his family is really overwhelming.
Metro Police Chief Steve Anderson also made the trip to Ohio. He told us how this service was different than the one in Madison, which drew over 2,000 people to Cornerstone Church.
More intimate, close family, friends that knew him here, people that worked with him, church members, people that he attended church with here with his mother. So very fitting and a very good tribute to Eric.
Chief Anderson and Mayor Barry told us it was important for them to be here, for Officer Mumau's mother, his friends and co-workers, and for him.
Eric had two homes. He had a home in Nashville. The Madison community especially loved him there. He gave his life right there. But he had a home here in Ohio, and you can see the outpouring here, family, friends, police officers that he worked together with in times past.
Officer Mumau will now be laid to rest about an hour away in Mount Vernon, Ohio, where his ashes will be buried. Reporting in Worthington, Ohio, I'm Jessica Jaglois, News 2.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Egan. An inmate grabs a deputy's gun and starts shooting. Chaos breaking out at the Coffee County Courthouse, leading to a foot chase through the building and then out into a neighborhood. The incident takes another tragic turn as the suspect then shoots and kills himself. What's more, 2 deputies are hurt tonight. In our team coverage, we're learning more about these men injured in the line of duty. Now, the deputies were taken to separate hospitals, Wendell Bowen having surgery in Chattanooga and Wade Bassett taken to Vanderbilt. Adam Snyder is live at Vanderbilt Hospital tonight. Adam, what's their condition?
Well, when last we checked, Eric, both were still in stable condition. The deputy brought here had significant hand and arm injuries after shots ring out inside that Coffee County building. It was a little before 3 when Ruthie Frassrud heard gunfire.
Just sounded like a firecracker, then the second one, and then we realized when someone's hollering that what was going on.
37-year-old Michael Bell was on the loose, armed with a Coffee County handgun, stolen from a deputy minutes before.
I was just standing there. I was just standing, and I went to the middle. And
when all was done, 3 had been shot. Deputy Wendell Bowen shot in the stomach. Deputy Wade Bassett shot in the hand. Bell killed by a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
You know, you never think of this happening. I don't know.
Ruthie's a clerk with Coffee County, working with both deputies regularly.
I mean, our court officers are really, they're good. They're really good guys. We cut up with them and stuff like that.
Now her mind's in Chattanooga and Nashville, as both Bassett and Bowen look to bounce back.
They're in our prayers. They're just in our prayers.
When severe weather strikes our home,
just boof out of nowhere.
Count on the News 2 Storm Tracker team to keep you safe.
Serious, folks.
Alerting.
Some reports of damage right now.
We had 2 confirmed tornadoes today.
News 2 Storm Trackers. Local weather coverage you can.
Our team of reporters are in place this afternoon. Larry Flowers is at Four Corners Marina and Antioch.
Stephanie Langston is at Old Hickory at the damaged school. We start with Larry.
Well, the damage here is quite significant to the KDOC. The National Weather Service and the OEM were here most of the day surveying the damage and have determined this was a weak F1 tornado.
Linda Manley grew up in Oklahoma and is used to severe weather.
For Tornado Alley, this was as close as I've come in a long time.
Manley was on her boat when the storm moved over Four Corners Marina Wednesday morning.
We watched the dock lift up over our boat and land on the other side of the dock, and it broke us and several other boats loose.
She heard the warnings, but just didn't have time to pack up and leave.
We knew that something was going to happen. We just didn't realize it was going to be right there.
She says it was scary, and for good reason.
That was very scary. I have a 3-year-old granddaughter on the boat with me, so it was very, very frightening.
The K-dock suffered major damage. The top of the boat dock collapsed on top of boats. The pier walk split in 2, trapping some people who had to be rescued.
Actually, it was better being on the boat because, as you see, the dock is kind of gone. So if you'd have been on the dock, you'd have been in the water, and that would have probably been worse for you.
A boat at the L dock was flipped and started going underwater. A boat at the K dock sank. Throughout the day, boat owners stopped by, hoping and praying their boats were spared.
Everybody's doing good. We're blessed. We all took a hard hit, but we're all blessed because everybody's good.
Now, there was also other damage. A second-story deck collapsed at the Freedom Boat Club here at the marina. It's literally hanging. Insurance adjusters have been here as well, but it may take some time before they know the total cost of this damage. And the American Red Cross was also seen here to help any boat owner who may need it. Live in Antioch, Larry Flowers, News 2.
What an effort. Offense, defense, goaltending, incredible stuff.
Yeah. All right, now he may not be able to hear us right now, but in more team coverage, we're going to go to News 2's Adam Snyder. He's live from the Walk of Fame Park. Adam, I'm shouting at you because I bet you can barely hear us down there.
I can hear you. I don't know if I have a voice left, guys. This is a blast right now. Let me show you this crowd a little bit. I'm going to have Alex pan this crowd. I hope you can hear me at this point. You know, a couple games ago, this was supposed to be a record-breaking crowd. That was game 4. I can tell you there are certainly thousands of people right outside of Bridgestone Arena, and they have just been yelling ever since the third period started, and all of a sudden they get quiet. Can we go? Come on! Now, of course, we'll have much more from this party outside, and of course, everything that happened inside in the game right here on News 2. Putting live downtown, I'm Adam Stein. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right.
And that is the great Alan Jackson addressing the crowd at a free concert on Broadway. Welcome to Smashville. It is Music City's first time to host a Stanley Cup final game, and you can see Nashville knows how to throw a party.
Look at his guitar. He even has a Predators guitar. He is all decked out in his Preds, and Alan Jackson's free concert at 5th and Broadway happening now. As you can see, he kicked off the celebration concert about 10 minutes ago, and we're about 2 hours away from Game 3, where we will see our Nashville Predators go up against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Thank you so much for joining us. Road to the Cup special. That's a little bit later. It's going to be at 6 o'clock, so stay with us. News 2 starts that, and we're going to have a full hour of Preds coverage, and we are glad you're joining us for it. I'm Cherish Lombard.
I'm Bob Mueller. Thank you so much for watching. We got some great news for you. Look at this crowd in downtown Nashville. Another look along Broadway. The free concert by Alan Jackson. The energy downtown is electric. Everyone is hoping that energy fuels the Predators tonight for a hometown win. News 2 is putting you front and center for all the action downtown.
Look how far back that crowd goes. We are bringing you team coverage of all things Preds. Stephanie Langston is on the roof of the stage. Corey Curtis and Kara Hammer are inside Bridgestone Arena. And Adam Snyder is in the middle of all the action at Bridgestone Plaza. Let's go to Stephanie first. And Stephanie, you have a pretty good view, huh?
Well, the energy and excitement out here is unmatched. Take a look, as you just saw a few minutes ago, Alan Jackson just took the stage a few minutes ago, kicking it off with She's Gone Country. Now, while we have turned into a hockey town, we have always been a music city. This site right here is one you will likely only see in Nashville. The NHL's biggest event inside the arena with one of country music's biggest names outside, amping the crowd up with a free concert. And look at that crowd, painted gold, gearing up to cheer on our Preds hours before the games. And I'll tell you, these fans, they lined up hours before the gates even opened, which was at 3:30 for the street party, in hopes, of course, of landing a good spot. And this crowd, well, it stretches nearly 5 blocks back all the way to First Avenue, where they have jumbotrons out there for folks to watch the game. Now, we're on top of the stage downtown, and it is elbow to elbow up here, and it's the same case at nearly every single bar downtown. Look at these folks. I tell you what, you just can't ask for a better Preds party anywhere than the one right here in Smashville. Back to you guys.
Some Smashville hats, cowboy hats. You know you're in Nashville, and everybody's singing along with Alan Jackson, Living on Love. Thank you, Stephanie.
What fun. As we look ahead to Game 3, we can't help but look back a little bit at what may have gone wrong with the Preds in Games 1 and 2. News 2's Corey Curtis and Kara Hammer are live inside the Bridgestone Arena.
Corey, Kara, this is the first Stanley Cup final game at home for the Preds. Smashville is going to be out of control.
It's going to be crazy. You can expect over 17,000 fans packed into the stadium, celebrities, and probably about 130 decibels. So, Kara, it's going to be nuts.
Yeah, and Corey, but when we were in Pittsburgh, virtually everybody was wondering what kind of show Nashville was going to put on.
They're about to find out in a very big way.
Yeah.
But the question we've got is, will this home ice advantage and fandom make a difference?
Yeah, Bob, I've been out here since about 3 o'clock today. Absolutely no room to speak of. We actually took a little refuge up near the glass at Bridgestone, but I'll step out of the way and let me see what the people are having to deal with out here. It is an absolute blast. Most people I spoke with have been here since noon. The earliest couple I spoke with, they showed up for Alan Jackson around 9:30 this morning. It is an electricity that I've never seen downtown, and I covered the entire Western Conference Finals. Now, I will say, if you plan on coming down here tonight, making the trek downtown, you need to know ahead of time. It is packed. You think this is full? I was on Broadway a second ago. There's absolutely no room to speak of. It took me, oh gosh, 15, 20, 30 minutes to make a half a block trip over here to Bridgestone. Coming down here tonight is not for the faint of heart. Bring some water, bring some patience, and of course, plenty of that Preds pride. Reporting live downtown.
Love seeing the sea of gold and all the signs. Stand with us. And this is just the beginning of our coverage of this historic night in Nashville.
Yeah, they're estimating as many as 40,000 people could be outside in the streets tonight. There may be even more, 20,000 inside. We're less than an hour away from our special Road to the Cup.
75 miles from Nashville in Warren County sits McMinnville, Tennessee, a town established more than 200 years ago with history and stories. Some of them ghost stories.
I feel like he's attached to this for some reason.
This is one of those stories. And to tell it, we take you to KP's McMinnville Lanes, a bowling alley to many, to believers, a home to a member of the spirit world.
There was one night he was really insistent about banging.
Normally the bangs come from bowlers or the game room with its sounds and flashing lights. But when it slows down here, people leave and the lights go low, strange things seem to happen.
And you know there's nobody here but you, and all this banging and stuff is going on. I mean, it's creepy, I won't lie.
Any given day, you can, you're basically one accident away from being late to your starting time at work.
Traffic, it's an issue that impacts everyone in Middle Tennessee. And it's only getting worse.
It takes just as long. You don't have a direct route. You're still going to get caught in that same traffic.
So, what's being done to fix the issue? And who's going to pay for it?
I would love to see this city going in more of a metropolitan directions.
From expanding local interstates to building light rail, News 2 examines it all tonight.
News 2's Nashville 2017 Town Hall, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles starts right now.
Celebrating the biggest names in country music, we are counting down to the 50th Annual CMA Awards, live from the red carpet.
And the countdown is at a half hour. Welcome to Nashville, Tennessee, live from the red carpet, the CMAs, and you are looking at one of tonight's hosts, the stunning Carrie Underwood, arriving on the red carpet.
And that dress just absolutely stunning as well. Hey there, we are so glad to have you with us. I'm Dawn Davenport. This is Neil Orn. We will be your host here for the next 30 minutes, giving you an inside look at the stars as they walk the red carpet here in Nashville.
And we welcome you from coast to coast here to Nashville, Tennessee. This is Forever Country tonight as we celebrate 50 years of the CMAs and the CMA Awards here. And it's going to be something we will not soon forget. We have legends from the very beginning here and some of today's newest stars.
I think Garth Brooks probably put it best when he said this is going to be the best CMA show that has ever been, and it's going to be the best that ever will be until we hit 100. So there you go. And of course, Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood will be performing a duet together tonight, and it was interesting to hear them talk about how they put everything together. And Trisha said that Garth sat in the kitchen with his guitar. They decided who they were going to honor, who they were going to pay tribute to, and then Garth basically put the medley together.
It's going to be a fun show right from the very beginning, with Charlie Pride taking the stage and some of the other great legends. One of the wonderful things about country music these days is so welcoming to other formats, and we've had a chance here on the red carpet already to speak with a few, like Elle King, who's already won an award with Dierks Bentley. Took all the time, piped in nice and loud. You have a wonderful voice.
Thank you so
Man,
much.
it's fun.
Thank you.
I jam out to it, I promise you. So you've already won an award for Musical Event of the Year.
Yeah, so like I'm set. I'm just here to hang out and watch an awesome show.
They mean everything to me.
A mother of 4.
I will do anything for them.
Emily Batista stays home with the kids ages 1 to 12.
We've been married for 4 years.
While her husband works construction.
God gave me him, so I'm blessed.
Though blessed, Batista's family has fallen on tough times.
He is in between jobs. I can't keep a job because of babysitting reasons, and it's just been hard to financially take care of our kids. It's been nights where we weren't able to feed our kids at all. There's been times where it's just rice and beans, and there's been times where there's no milk but there's only water, or there's no water but there's a small cup of juice that everybody can share. You're responsible for these little beings, and you can't provide the one necessity that they need to live.
Struggling and unsure where to turn for help, Batista stumbled upon Grace Place in Hermitage.
The need that people have is incredible.
Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Livingston, Tennessee. Separated by 9,000 miles, but forever joined in history. Because of the bravery of 25-year-old James Thomas Davis, known to everyone as Tom.
Tom was a very adventurous boy.
Bill Winningham has been vice mayor of Livingston for 40 years. He was a classmate and friend of Tom Davis.
He lived facing the mountain back here, and Tom probably spent as much time on that mountain as he did at home.
Tom Davis was a typical Livingston kid. He played sports and worked for gas money at his father's drugstore.
It was Davis and Norris drugstore, and he worked in there. He was a soda jerk when he was in high school. And
after high school, Tom's adventurous nature led him to volunteer for the Army's 3rd Radio Research Unit and a trip to Southeast Asia. The U.S. was not entangled in the Vietnam War yet in 1961. Tom wore civilian clothes, not a uniform. He monitored Viet Cong radio broadcasts using sophisticated equipment to pinpoint the location of the enemy. On December 22, 1961, near Saigon, Davis was riding in the front seat of a truck carrying 10 South Vietnamese soldiers. A landmine exploded, tearing through the tailgate. Davis survived the blast and pulled the driver to the safety of a water-filled culvert. Davis then ran up the road, turning and firing to protect himself and his fellow soldiers, but was felled by a Viet Cong bullet near the truck. President Lyndon Johnson would later proclaim Tom Davis as the first American to fall in defense of our freedom in Vietnam.
It's a great story. He was a good local boy and an American hero in my eyes.
Back in Livingston, inside the Davis family home on East Cedar Street, that December night, a birthday celebration was underway for Janie, the fourth of 5 Davis children who turned 15. The family was expecting Tom any day. They were not expecting a cab that night to inform them Tom would not be coming home.